It's time for some more Yu-Gi-Oh! As this series is so meaningful to me from my younger days growing up with it, collecting and playing the card game and so much more. Recently, I started up a series of videos that go through the Generation 1 era of Yu-Gi-Oh! So essentially anything that deals with Yugi along with his friends on their adventures. This trip down memory lane is filled with a lot of great times flooding back in after so long from my obsession with all things Yu-Gi-Oh! Growing up, and I hope for you it can provide that as well. Today, we are continuing on our journey through the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where last time we looked into the third season of the series, which had the ending of the Battle City arc, including a whole segue into a virtual world dealing with a lot of Kaiba's past family issues. For Season 4, progress into the lore of Yami Yugi's past and the quest to learn everything gets halted when a new powerful group of bad guys show up and we get introduced to the word that we will hear a lot this season, Orichalcos. Each part in the series can be viewed standalone and viewed as one big series, but with that said, welcome to the puzzling world of Yu-Gi-Oh! Part 4. As we return back to the series, we first see the other duelists of Weevil and Rex seeking out how to get their hands on the Egyptian god cards from Yugi, only to run into a strange hooded person similar to the rare hunters but still very different. He threatens to take both of their souls and forces them to get into a duel with him, showing off an odd duel disc that not only is a different color, but seemingly has other features not yet seen before. In the meantime, we catch back up with Yugi and the others who are still trying to unlock more of Yami Yugi's past, while a disturbance catches their attention only to find both Weevil and Rex outside in a controlled-like state, muttering about the world being swallowed by the great beast. Their monsters are running amok, causing people to panic over this happening, and for Kaiba Corp to start getting some heat as we see later on TV that dual monsters are just showing up around the world and causing problems, as Kaiba then holds a press conference taking no responsibility for what is happening as they tried turning off the virtualization system that brings the cards to life in a regular battle, and this is still happening regardless. Later on at Yugi's residence, he hears a noise downstairs in the shop, only to find his grandpa on the floor and that the store is a mess, as his grandpa claims someone had stolen the Egyptian god cards. Outside now, the power of the looming gods can be seen as 3 more members of this new mysterious and evil group appear. One of them proves to have stolen an Egyptian god card and refers to Yami Yugi as the Nameless Pharaoh, and tells him to come to a special location if he wants the god cards back. The gang heads out to the location, meeting up with the same mysterious figure that turned Weevil and Rex into what they became, claiming to serve someone named Raphael, as he now challenges Yugi to a duel. This new group is testing Yugi and claims that if Yugi fails, then he is not their true enemy. Their goal is to collect souls like we saw a bit of earlier, and are coming for powerful duelists needing to get people like Yugi, Joey, Kaiba, and others. Things change real quick when the duel starts and the card the Seal of Orichalcos is played, as this concerns Yugi based on his experience with the Shadow Realm, but this isn't that. The field spell card stops the use of his Millennium Puzzle, as Millennium items are powerless in the Seal themselves. During the battle, Obelisk the Tormentor is summoned against Yugi, as he is shocked that whatever power this new group is using is able to control the gods with ease. Or can they, as the person here is really struggling to handle whatever power is coming from using the god card. Yugi overcomes this, however, but the other guy then pulls off a crazy combo that lets him summon 7 monsters, filling the field beyond what is possible. As Joey calls this out, but the other members of the group claim that the seal they are in now allows monsters to be summoned in the spell and trap card zones, so that's fun for everyone.
There's more duels and more action when Yu-Gi-Oh! Returns! And now, back to Yu-Gi-Oh!
The threat to Yugi and his friends is that they shall all soon be sacrificed in the aid of the resurrection of some ancient god, as they work towards the start of some new world, you know, the typical stuff you hear from these type of bad guys. We then see the way that the souls of the duelists are trapped within the various copies of the Seal of Orichalcos, bringing Yugi to think of what happened back in Season 1 with Pegasus. The loser of the duel gets trapped within the current seal at play, and with Yugi still winning this duel in the end, his opponent gets trapped within the card after he gives Obelisk to Raphael. Raphael won't return the god cards for now, but he does release Weevil and Rex as Yugi finds a special shining stone that his opponent had dropped. Yugi and the others go and find Weevil and Rex to get some information from them about what is going on, and nothing aside from the information we already know is offered, as they can't remember anything past getting captured. But Weevil tries to get the god cards off Yugi instantly after this, as Yugi claims that they were already stolen. With this information, Weevil and Rex plan to track the cards down themselves as well, so they can get their hands on them. Now we get the return of the character Rebecca, who showed up for a tiny bit at the the end of Season 1, and is back thanks to her grandfather Professor Hawkins wanting to speak with Yugi, and as they do, he sees immediately that Yugi embodies the Nameless Pharaoh. Eventually, we will get the Pharaoh's real name, but not yet, so Nameless Pharaoh becomes a thing for a bit too. Digging in further for the lore here, Professor Hawkins talks about finding some undersea ruins that he was researching, seeing ancient markings that showed the dual monsters being real and how the Pharaoh sealed away the evil and real powers that they had. Yugi brings up the stone that he found as the professor talks about seeing similar stones in the ruins as well, and is going to research it some more. Later that day, Yugi ends up hearing a voice call out to him through the Millennium Puzzle, but isn't sure what that was all about quite yet. In the meantime, this mysterious new group has the three main swordsmen, as they're called, report into a meeting with their leader of the group as they hand him the 3 Egyptian god cards. This leader doesn't want the Pharaoh to use them to gain his memories back, as their use can be for unlocking what is known as the Forbidden Door. This begins a sequence that the cards are used for, connecting a bridge of sorts from one land to this one. As Yugi is sleeping, he ends up going into the world of the spirit of the Pharaoh within the Millennium Puzzle as they head towards the voice calling out for help together, finding it to be Karibo, who ends up bringing them to another dimension that contains the full world of the dual monsters themselves. There they see some dragons that are frozen in ice that had all been impaled by a sword, as the Dark Magician Girl appears and explains to them about the Dark Sun that is absorbing the dual monsters as there aren't many left. She tells Yugi that they need help and asks him to save both worlds, with Yugi having to unleash one of the sealed away dragons, this dragon being Timaeus, pulling the sword from it and saying the name of the dragon to create a bond with it to take in the power that the dragon has. When Yugi wakes up, something is seen in the sky as he gets back with everyone to see that the dual monsters are being taken by a green crystal that gives birth to a giant eye, or better yet, the Dark Sun that is now within the sky above, with the leader of the group claiming Yugi to be the sacrifice for his god as it tries to then take Yugi, but he notices his deck is glowing, pulling out the card for Timaeus, having it come out and destroy the eye as it breaks into many pieces, scattering themselves all around the globe. Dark Magician Girl appears again, telling Yugi that this evil god is coming and will be resurrected here in the real world, as Yugi now has to put a stop to this and free the other dual monsters. Things get a bit of a change up when Pegasus comes back around with a tape from him that isn't after their souls like at the start of the series, but an invite to take a flight directly to him, as Pegasus knows of the real reasons that the monsters from the cards are real and causing problems. Pegasus gives Yugi a special card that is one of a kind and yells at Yugi in the tape to not lose it and guard it with his life. Weevil and Rex are listening in and are following our main group, and I kinda love how much these two side characters get played into a pair here that work together the longer the series has gone on. They end up getting on the flight as well, disguised as some regular cargo. At the same time, Kaiba is worried about what is happening as Mokuba informs him that there is someone out there buying up stocks of the company at a really fast rate. This turns out to be Pegasus, as the two of them get on a call, and Pegasus baits Kaiba to come to him for a supposed duel, and if he doesn't, then he will sell all of the stocks of his company. So he takes the cool Blue Eyes White jet along with Mokuba to make it to Pegasus. Pegasus plays pretty coy about his knowledge of things towards Kaiba as they get into their duel, but at one point, with Kaiba also sussing out something being weird here, Pegasus removes his mask, revealing to not even be Pegasus, but instead a character named Alistair. He's one of the 3 swordsmen who also has one of the new types of dual discs on him, activating the seal of Orichalcos and leaving the battle up to fate for the sake of their souls. On the other side of things, Yugi and the others end up still heading to the headquarters of Industrial Illusions, where all of the cards are made, and where presumably the real Pegasus actually is, and was bringing them to while this imposter Pegasus went after Kaiba to trick him into a duel. Weevil and Rex end up getting themselves lost when they fall out of the luggage transport after landing. For Kaiba's duel, we get some backstory about Alistair and how he grew up within a war zone with his brother, and with Kaiba Corp used to being known for making weapons, they were caught within the fight, and his younger brother lost his life when they were around some of the Kaiba Corp made tanks, seeing Gozaboru shaking hands with the opposing troops. This led them to the leader of this new evil group, Darts, who allowed him to seek out revenge towards the Kaiba Corporation and by extension the whole Kaiba family. During this battle, Kaiba's deck begins to glow as he is brought into the dual monsters world as well, following the same footsteps as Yugi and removing the sword from one of the dragons, releasing Critias, as he uses the ability of the card in the real world to now fuse the summoning of a dragon with a trap card, releasing out Doom Virus Dragon, which is able to clear the field of Alistair's monsters. With Kaiba now about to win, Alistair plays a special card that immediately ends the duel in a draw, so no soul is taken to save himself and escapes, warning that he will be back. Now Kaiba seeks out the real Pegasus. For Rex and Weevil, they end up running into Duke Devlin, who ends up helping them out when they get pickpocketed, and further so when they lie to him about just being worried about Yugi, as he then helps bring them to the facility. He would know where to go since Dungeon Dice Monsters is produced from there. For Yugi and the others on the way to see Pegasus, they arrive at Industrial Illusions. After a possible run-in with Mai earlier, Mai actually reveals herself to the others that she had actually joined to the bad guy group, which is known as Doma, where she also has one of those special dual discs that would come to be known as a Chaos Dual Disc. The other two swordsmen, Raphael and Valen, are keeping an eye on what is happening. It's revealed that she had already reached Pegasus and had taken his soul, challenging Joey to a duel first and activating the seal of Orichalcos, trapping Joey into a duel for his soul. Joey tries to do whatever he can to get through to her, but the duel continues on. Joey really doesn't want to, as it would mean that Mai would lose her soul if he were to win, but on the other hand, he would lose his soul if he lost. We see how Mai was driven to darts and the Doma group that she is in. Feeling pretty alone and hopeless from her experiences from what happened with Merrick, she ended up meeting Valen, who helped her seek out the power that she was hoping for and never being defeated again, leading her to darts, introducing her into the cult-like organization. Duke and the other two had just arrived as well to watch what is happening from outside of the locked gate, as he tries to find a way to deactivate the security measures keeping the others locked in and them locked out. As Joey tries stalling the duel with his tactics and also trying to save his skin, he ends up giving Mai some real pushback. Yugi, though, thinks that there is a way to possibly tie the duel for the result in the end that neither of them would lose their soul, which, yeah, he's correct, but they still have to do that. As things get more dire in the duel towards Joey, he experienced the same thing that Yugi and Kaiba did, being brought into the duel monster's world and removing the sword from the dragon there, gaining the bond with Hermos, as he gets to now use the power of the dragon's special card within the duel. Using the power of the Claw of Hermos and his Time Wizard, he brings forward a funny little hammer that has wings, which makes Valen laugh, but there may just be some great power here to this hammer. At some point, the hammer on its own opens up a portal and sucks in all of her monsters, as everyone there waits with bated breath. And after a moment, Joey attacks directly, bringing her back down to doubting herself, and feeling like she's never gonna be good enough ever. Yugi understands what the hammer had done, using the power of the Time Wizard to assign a number to the creatures and send them all into future turns based on the number on their head, as Harpy's pet dragon comes back out. As the battle goes on, Raphael seemingly gives up on Mai, while Valen still has faith in her to be the strong duelist he knows her to be, jumping in the duel and using his Orichalcos stone to break the seal and rescue Mai from the situation, leaving while Raphael claims that he will be coming for Yugi, all disappearing out of there before anyone could have a second to process what happened. Joey is pissed at what has happened to Mai, as Duke gets the security system to go offline. Kaiba also ends up showing up and is looking for Pegasus to see if he's alright, as they go to his office to see a message left for Yugi. The special keycard that was given to him unlocks a special room that has a video from Pegasus explaining who Doma are, and how for centuries they have been always around manipulating major events through history and operating in the shadows. They were the real ones behind trying to take over Kaiba Corp through buying up stocks, as they are very well funded with the money they've accumulated over the years to continue to operate at the level they do. Pegasus also has made an all-powerful card that can help defeat them, but the card turns out to be completely blank, as for now, until they know more, is named the Nameless card. How nameless of them. Yugi, Joey, and Kaiba all quickly realize through their experiences of getting the individual dragon cards and their connections to them that they are supposed to unite together to face this ultimate threat. From here and what they will do next, they decide to meet back up with the professor to get some insight on things. In the meantime, Raphael and Valen are discussing what to do next, as they take aim at setting up plans for what to do with Yugi and also capturing the professor. Rebecca, later on walking home with her horse, bears witness to her grandfather, aka the professor, being abducted, as then his house is blown up. Later on, Yugi and the others arrive to meet with Rebecca, as she shows Yugi a message left for him telling him to arrive alone in a place called Dead Valley, which is basically just Death Valley. But it may not be a great time for Yugi, as he goes after Raphael for the sake of the professor and tells Rebecca to keep this a secret from the others. But the snooping duo of Weevil and Rex can't help themselves and want to witness whatever happens here. Yugi borrows Rebecca's horse and heads out into the valley with the big iron on his hip, and by that I mean one of those legendary dragons, as this cowboy has a duel to get into. When Yugi arrives in the most Yugi way possible, then menacingly walking across a bridge that Raphael throws some axes at to cut behind him once he crosses it, Raphael gets philosophical about Doma's operations being evil or not, as that's for history to decide, as he follows the term of justice specifically. For his backstory, we see that at one point when he was a kid, he was shipwrecked and stuck on an island for years, watching his loved ones, mother, father, brother, and sister all die. Somehow, his cards kept him safe, as they are all considered guardian monsters. His only goal in the duel, aside from winning, is to do whatever he can to keep his cards from entering the graveyard. At some point during his time stranded, he was granted a vision that would ultimately lead him to darts, after he would then eventually be saved and find life miserable on his own, joining Doma and looking for the answer to what fate truly is. He's clearly a duelist with a strong connection to his cards through the loss of his family, making the emotional stakes rise for a character that comes off so brash to the world.
There's more duels and more action when Yu-Gi-Oh returns!
And now, back to Yu-Gi-Oh!
In the background of this, the professor was allowed to go home from where he was captured. They just wanted to stop his research and bait Yugi out to this duel. Joey, Taya, Tristan, and Duke all notice that Yugi is gone and head out looking for him while Rebecca stays back to worry about her grandpa. As Yugi and Raphael are engaged in their duel, Raphael does the bad guy thing of explaining the plans of the evil that is happening, as they plan on resetting human civilization on the planet, and then goes into how they've all been around and guiding major moments throughout history, something they just had learned from Pegasus, but now is confirmed further that this was all true. He continues on into the balance of dark and light, and how they can see and understand the dark within their hearts to see the true balance of the scales. Going beyond this and speaking to Yami directly, he asks him the hard questions. Was he, as a pharaoh, a king of the people, a fair ruler, or a tyrant to spread more chaos and control across the land? This is hard for Yami Yugi, as how the heck should he know? He doesn't even know his own name, let alone much more than that he was a pharaoh. At one point in the duel, Yugi uses the force of his dragon special card to fuse with his dark magician girl, bringing out Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight, but Raphael ends up giving the Seal of Orichalcos to Yugi, as it tugs on the evil within his heart to manipulate his playstyle and lose sight of himself, going for full-on power to try and destroy Raphael, as Raphael blocks and stops his powerful dragon fusion. Yami Yugi here is pinned in a bad spot, seemingly close to losing the duel, and as it goes on, without much else to do, Yami Yugi ends up losing the battle from the manipulation, from having the temptation and then playing the Seal of Orichalcos, and as his sacrifice is needed specifically for the beast, the regular Yugi breaks free and pushes Yami out, as the seal only needs one soul, not both of them, saving Yami from what terrible things could happen if he were captured in that seal, and leaving it as only the real Yugi getting his soul taken. Yugi's friends show up as they see the rest of the duel, with Raphael getting a pickup from a helicopter and tossing the limp body of Yugi at his friends, telling them to keep him, as he believes he has the Pharaoh's spirit captured. When Yugi wakes up, all that is there is Yami, as he realizes that the regular Yugi is gone and begins to cry, exclaiming that it should have been him, not Yugi, but him, continuing to take this extremely hard. Darts offers the soul of Yugi as an offering to the Leviathan, the great beast, which this moment is either all really emotional for you to be invested in, or clowned on for Yami's "it should have been me, not him, it's not fair" line. But I think it's so crucial and a really interesting way to show how Yami could be defeated, especially with how conflicted he is about his own past that he doesn't fully know, and how good of a person the real Yugi is, seeing what sacrifice needed to be made for the betterment of mankind. Joey does what he can to get Yami to snap out of his depressed state and focus on what to do next to fix this rather than dwell on it. As far as more lore about the past, the professor thinks that the runes he saw underneath the sea were those of the ancient and lost city to the allegedly fabled Atlantis. Certain texts are decoded to explain about some king who took out the whole city with the help of some monster, as to get more context to what really is happening, that they would need some more fragments in relation to it all, with some of them being on display in a museum in Florida, and Joey here starts taking a bit of a leadership role to figure out how to lead things forward. Joey really does continue to grow constantly throughout the series, and that's why he's been my favorite main character. And don't worry, Merrick's still my favorite character overall, but he's technically not a main character, and Joey is. Team Joey for life. After witnessing all that has happened, both Rex and Weevil end up going to Raphael and want to go with the swordsman to see Darts, and become members of Doma, wanting to really prove themselves and not be seen as just losers. Darts first, though, reveals to Raphael that he didn't get the soul of the Pharaoh like he thought, as he then asks Darts for another chance to capture the Pharaoh, while the other two goons here beg Darts to join Doma. He doesn't give that chance to Raphael just yet, but instead he gives Rex and Weevil each a Seal of Orichalcos card, as they are then taken into what they have both always wanted, unlimited access to powerful and cool cards, as they are brought to a room filled with them. And while they can use these cards to make their decks stronger, they could also use their own cards already if they want, but the temptation is too great and they enjoy building new decks with all the cards to choose from. Darts then gives them the assignment of going after the Pharaoh and Joey respectively. As for what Kaiba's been up to, he can't find much more information on Doma, as well as he stands conflicted about his company being responsible for what happened in Alistair's past. He knows that he must help take them down so he can continue to try and fix the reputation of Kaiba Corp from what the company used to be. Despite Kaiba's hard exterior, his products and inventions and ideas are set out to really bring joy at the end of the day. Dual discs are cool. The promised Kaiba Land theme park sounds fun. Sure, these are still corporate things to make money on in various ways, but these things will still bring people joy. Joy, funding war clearly does not. Joey ends up calling Kaiba and informs him that they need to get to Florida and just really catches him up on everything, but also lets him know that Yugi lost the duel, and that's all Kaiba really wanted to hear, calling Yami Yugi a disgrace to the game of duel monsters, but smiles to himself after hanging up, feeling good that it's not impossible to beat him in a duel, but still doesn't do anything to help them at this moment. You gotta love Kaiba. Rebecca directs the others to an airport as she stays with her grandfather and Duke for now. To get to the airport, they all take a train, with Yami still taking it hard for all that has happened, and as time passes on the train, it somehow becomes separated and splits the group apart, with Yami and Taya still moving forward with the connected parts of the train to the engine, while Joey and Tristan are left in the middle of nowhere for now. But Rex shows up to have a duel with him on his given task of taking his soul, having themselves a real rematch just with greater stakes now, as he has the Chaos Duel Disc and the Seal of Orichalcos. As for Yugi, he climbs on top of the train because that's just cool, and what's cooler is to have a battle on top of a moving train, with Weevil showing up for a real rematch with him, and much like Rex, having the new Duel Disc and Orichalcos seal. Weevil tells Yami that if he beats him, he will tell him where to find Yugi's soul, and Yami accepts this of course, and this would also be saving him too if he loses, since he would be turned into an offering as well and placed in the same area Yugi is at. The matches are being monitored by both Darts and Raphael. We get some deep cuts to how both Rex and Weevil became the way they are, and really how close they've become post the events of Duelist Kingdom, as they dealt with the humiliation and shame from being kicked out of the tournament. It's still kind of their own fault though. And it's also funny to see that even their sob stories don't mean anything here, as Yami and Joey couldn't care less. The battles continue on as Joey ends up defeating Rex, which traps his soul within his Seal of Orichalcos card, and Yami ends up defeating Weevil, and is now trying to get the information out of him of where to find Yugi at, but his soul was already claimed by his Orichalcos card as well. The train itself begins to derail, sending Yami and Taya over a cliff as Darts notices trace on Yami disappears, curious as to what happened. Could Yami have died? Could there be something else afoot? Well, Yami and Taya end up in a hut meeting a girl named Chris and her dog, as they then end up meeting an older man named Ironheart, who takes interest in Yami's Timaeus card, a card that he has a separation to now because of the evil in his heart for using the Seal of Orichalcos. After talking for a bit, Ironheart offers to guide them somewhere as they decide to follow along. Raphael was sent out to look for what really happened to the pharaoh, finding no trace of him at the train crash site, and continuing to dig further into where he could have gone. After a bit of traveling, Ironheart brings them to a place where the dead linger, allowing their hatred to gather here, leaving ambiguous answers to what that truly means or what truly happened to these people. More so, the lost souls out there, as Yami hears the voices of people in his past that he has faced in battle who have had evil within their hearts at one point or another, calling back to people from Duelist Kingdom in the Battle City arc. In the middle of the area, Yami is greeted to the spirit of Yugi, apologizing to him, but Yugi is mad at Yami for his actions as Yami states his confusion of what is truly good and what is truly bad. Yugi sees the darkness plastered onto Yami's heart, as a challenge is given to Yami from Yugi, saying that they will duel, and if he doesn't defeat him, he will vanish as well. And Yugi's harsh words here of having the pharaoh learn to take responsibility for his actions and face his inner demons in the ways of truly getting over any lingering evil within his heart to then truly be good is a deep conversation between the two that really catches Yami off guard for the way that Yugi is speaking to him. While it is more of a mind thing, facing himself and getting through his pain and regret rather than actually doing the spirit of the real Yugi, it still is that as well. He ends up defeating Yugi and passing Yugi's test, thus beating the darkness in his own heart to be a true hero, as the spirit of Yugi truly speaks to him, knowing that the spirit of the pharaoh is good, with Yami pledging to save him no matter what it takes. After Raphael sees that Yami is still alive, as Darts tunes into view what Raphael sees, he goes to confront Yami as they summon through cracks in the ground an Orichalcos soldier. This forces Yami into a duel with the massive soldier, as he is then given a full-on vision of the Battle of Atlantis, with Ironheart in the meantime charging into the duel with the Timaeus card to give back to him. In this vision though, Yami sees how Ironheart and Chris were both in this battle back then as they were fighting with Timaeus against some massive creature, while Darts is shown to be with this giant beast known as the Leviathan, giving us the first time Yami sees who this character is. The ancient battle shows Timaeus nearly being defeated as a Leviathan and it clash, causing an explosion before the duel now continues on. Ironheart charges in with Chris behind him as they give Yami Timaeus' card back, as he then gets struck by lightning that was sent in from Darts. As Chris continues on to bring it to Yami when Ironheart evaporates into bubbles or something, the same fate happens to Chris when another bolt of lightning hits her, but she still continues on, only to get struck again, as this time she gets close enough to actually hand Yami the card, right before she disappears as well. And now, Yami is not happy about this. He hopes to be deemed worthy once more after the power of Timaeus was taken away from his actions earlier with the Seal of Orichalcos, summoning Timaeus back out, seeing that he is worthy and fusing it with the Dark Magician Girl, and defeating the soldier in battle. In the end, Tristan and Joey make their way way to Yami and Taya after seeing the explosion from Yami's duel. Yami then sees a tablet depicting the 3 legendary dragons and showing Ironheart and Chris fighting in the war 10,000 years ago, knowing that their souls are captured as he proceeds on to deal with darts and put an end to all of this.
There's more duels and more action when Yu-Gi-Oh! Returns!
And now, back to Yu-Gi-Oh!
From this point, Yami has a newfound confidence and reassurance for what to do, with Taya being happy to see this, as they move towards meeting up with Joey and Tristan. Within Doma, there is a bunch of infighting regarding the whole Mai matter, from her duel earlier and how Valen stopped it, with Raphael not having any faith in her, as she didn't listen to any orders given. Darts, in a calmly manner, lets her storm off and refers to her fate being in the hand of her god. As she rides her motorcycle, she gets confronted by other bikers as she sends out her Harpy Lady, which again isn't an illusion, and it then destroys their bike. As Valen catches up to her to have a talk. He claims that he will have to deal with Joey while trying to talk some sense into her about what it means to win and losing sight of other important things. Clearly, Valen has a thing for her, showing genuine care. While she gets what he's saying, she plays it off as she doesn't, pushing him away as he tells her that he found a goal that makes it worth winning in the end, with that goal being her. He wants to be with her, and beyond just winning duels and taking down the Pharaoh or even Joey, that he would even take down Darts if that's what it took to win her. She tells him to not be so confident, as she also wants a piece of Joey, making this an interesting bit of story for a semi-main character and a current season side villain. Rebecca and Duke happen to be driving by as they spot them, and Rebecca goes off on Valen about Doma taking Yugi's soul, with Valen mouthing off back to her. Eventually, she challenges him to a duel, with Duke joining in for it. Valen ends up beating both of them, telling them to warn Joey that he's coming for him next, with Mai leaving for now, as Valen is set on proving himself to her. Back with Joey and Tristan, that same light that they witnessed when Yugi first used Timaeus appears in the sky. Yami and Taya see the same thing from where they are, as Darts is pleased to see his god being active based on the current captured souls. For Mokuba and Kaiba, it seems that Kaiba really has no more interest in Yugi or the Pharaoh. At least that's what he puts out there, telling Mokuba that he has no interest in losers. From the plane that they're on, they notice the same phenomenon in the sky appearing as well, with Kaiba bracing in a smug manner for what happens next. Alistair returns, speaking to Kaiba through the plane's intercom, bringing them to see the plane is on autopilot as he appears in there and challenges him to a rematch, setting the stage and showing a vision of the city from Alistair's childhood that was ruined by the war to really lay into Kaiba's psyche for the duel. As the duel goes on, Mokuba tries to gain control of the plane, radioing in for help, as Alistair is only getting angrier within the duel, letting all of his hatred out and claiming Kaiba to just be like his father as the plane continues to take damage from the seal of Orichalcos. But Kaiba gets the upper hand in the duel, bringing his legendary dragon and eventually having it fully come together with his Blue Eyes White Dragon to create the Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, defeating Alistair as his soul is then claimed by his card. While Kaiba still struggles with Alistair's past and has dealt with him on the plane for now, he sees Mokuba safe as well, as he takes a moment to smile before he tries to then save the plane from fully falling out of the sky, as his legendary dragon pulls the other two from Yami and Joey to help land the plane safely. Yami, Taya, Joey, and Tristan all meet up with each other and make their way towards the plane, greeting Kaiba as he exits from it and telling them that they all might be useful after all for his own plans. But when Kaiba gets a call, he hears that Doma has purchased all of Kaiba Corp, leaving Kaiba unemployed, maybe. I doubt that they would keep him on board. In the meantime, from what control he has left, he gets information sent to him about further engravings from Atlantis, moments before Doma stops this from continuing, as they get this information to the professor. They need to get to the supercomputer at the Kaiba Corp building in the US to help process the texts, as the sky ends up opening once more. Darts waits, ready for the return of his great Leviathan, ready to destroy mankind. He begins sending life out to the fragments of his god around the world, giving them energy to bring forth more Orichalcos soldiers and sending in real monsters to be at the Kaiba Corp building. Yami and Kaiba head to his building through a secret entrance, while Taya and Tristan go warn the authorities of what's happening. Rebecca, Joey, Duke, and the professor stand by as they hack into the building's systems to aid Kaiba and Yami. Both of them end up having to face real duel monsters, as Taya and Tristan then now run from possessed police. Kaiba is able to figure out how Doma operates in secrecy under the secret company name of Paradies, being similar to the word paradise, as that was in the deciphered text, which refers to paradise as Atlantis. This company has the power and wealth as strong as the world leaders, and that the leader of it all is in fact Darts. Yami isn't sure how Darts could even still be alive, with his vision from him from earlier was from 10,000 years ago. But time is running out for what is happening. The silhouette of the Leviathan flies in the sky, as they are then attacked, breaking any connection from Kaiba and Yami to Rebecca and the others. Darts makes himself present to meet Kaiba and Yami, riding atop of his Leviathan. He continues on about out fate as they get ready to face off against him with their legendary dragons, but with Darts' power, everything is useless, causing Yami and Kaiba to run for it, making it to his Blue Eyes White Jet, but it gets shot down as the Leviathan continues to circle the globe for pure utter chaos. Valen, however, is ready to find Joey and take him on in a duel, speeding on his bike towards the city. He eventually finds Joey, or does Joey find him, as he gets baited into hopping on a bike that he found and chasing after him, with Kaiba and Yami meeting back with all the others as Tristan is now trying to chase after Joey, only being stopped by Mai, as she wants to know where Joey is herself. She learns about what just happened and heads after them as she is pissed that Valen got to Joey first. Valen leads Joey to a vacant lot where they argue over Mai, naturally, as Valen thinks that as long as Joey is around, all Mai will be doing is suffering, as the two of them get into their duel with Darts having no care who wins or loses. He just wants another soul at this point to be sacrificed.
This Double Fringe Miss is brought to you by Gamer Sups. Hey, you heard of Gamer Sups? Yeah. Did you know it's less than 1 calorie per serving? Yeah. Did you know that it's sugar-free? Yeah. Did you know if you use code FRINGE, you get 10% off your order? Yeah, wait, really? Yeah, just go to Gamer Sups, use code FRINGE, get 10% off. Sick. Are you gonna go to Gamer Sups and use code FRINGE for 10% off? Yeah. You know it helps support the channel, right? Yeah. Do you know that you're really cute? Huh?
During the duel, we learn of his past, like we have with all the others, as he lived at a church having a bad track record of constantly getting into fights and dealing with a hard life overall. The one person who cared for him was a nun at the church who eventually got kicked out of it when the building was purchased, as she fought back for the sake of the kids who were living there. Later on, he finds the church being burned by the thugs whose boss purchased the church, causing some sort of an insurance scam. They don't have to pay for knocking it down. Valen ends up going and beating the thugs senselessly, and later is arrested and sent to prison, where he constantly gets into more fights, always having to fight in life wherever he's at. After some time in solitary confinement, he is offered a chance at freedom from the warden, if he goes and wins some duels. He accepts and heads to an island where he uses a card given to him, the Seal of Orichalcos, as he defeats all of the other prisoners, which paints more of a dystopian picture of the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. But when it's over, Darts reveals himself to be the one that orchestrated the whole thing, offering Valen a deal to join Doma, as he accepts. Joey really resonates where Valen, along with the others, come from, having no one to lean on, only fighting for themselves and not having real connections with others, relating back to who he used to be, but knows that with his support group of friends now, it's better than it ever was. They continue to duel each other and still discuss where they are coming from in regards to how they view Mai, as Joey explains that she was the one to push him during Duelist Kingdom to not give up, and knows that who she is with this group isn't truly her, as her real goals would never align with Doma's. In the meantime, Kaiba heads to the Paradies building, buying a sports car, writing a check for $500,000, telling the salesman to keep the change. Wow. He's so cool. Yami has help from Rebecca in tracing where Joey is to go and find him. Eventually, for Joey's battle, Joey pulls his legendary dragon, and when Valen is able to make a clone of it essentially, both of them are left pretty banged up, especially Joey at this point. But not long after, Joey begins to glow, as his body is then covered in a suit of armor, and it is connected to his actual life force, as they battle to see who is going to be the last one standing. Then when Joey gets his Red Eyes Black Dragon, he combines the armor and his Red Eyes together, creating this really cool full-on Red Eyes suit of armor, and I have an action figure of this, and I think it's cool as heck, don't at me. Both duelists are actually kind of excited, as it gets this intense in the duel, enjoying a true challenging duel that pushes both of them to their limits. Mai shows up to yell at Valen for getting to Joey first and not letting her deal with this, but he won't switch out for her, as Valen realizes why they are so drawn to face Joey. It is his true passion for the sake of the duel as they continue on. Soon, Joey is hit pretty hard, losing his Red Eyes armor and barely able to do anything, but he still ends up getting on his feet, as they are both at the point where one more move each could defeat the other. And after a big climactic final push, Joey ends up defeating Valen, who takes the defeat like a champion, seeing Joey in a different light and telling Mai that it's okay and reassures her of the person he is in the end, telling Joey to watch over Mai, as Mai cries out his name while his soul is taken into his card. Darts sees this, but now is certain that Mai is what will help truly revive the full freedom of the Leviathan. Mai takes the loss of Valen very personally as Joey tries to comfort her, and as they talk, Joey challenges her to a real duel, something that she's truly wanted, as they begin to start in the same place. Mai ends up leading the duel here, but has a problem finishing Joey off. Something is holding her back and she is conflicted by these feelings, but Joey ends up passing out and falling over anyway from the last duel and then hopping right into this one, giving Mai the win anyway, as she now rushes in to help him, thinking back to all the memories that they have together and does not want his soul to be taken, as Joey tells her it's too late and the circle comes in closer to take his soul, as he then grabs her Orichalcos fragment to destroy it, setting her free from Darts as his soul gets taken. Darts doesn't care because he just technically got a powerful soul anyway, as it's one of the chosen duelists. But the other legendary dragons appear in the sky, leaving Yami and Kaiba's deck to mourn the loss of their fallen brother. Mai is left with the regret and sadness with Joey being gone, as Yami and the others are reaching where this battle took place to see what happened, only seeing Joey and Valen left there. Well, their bodies. Unfortunately for Mai, when Yugi gets to the building they were all heading for anyway, he finds Mai's soulless body there, and sees this of the work of Raphael, ready to face him once more as he meets him, face to face. This is now a duel for the fate of the new age, and as this battle goes on, Raphael uses the seal of Orichalcos to show Yami the true force that it has. As this happened, Kaiba and the others reach them to witness the duel, and as the duel gets heated, a crevice opens up and Guardian Dead Scythe comes out from it, acting as a representation of Raphael's dark side. Yami at this point has his powerful legendary dragon out infused with the Dark Magician to create the amulet dragon, as it then gets destroyed by Raphael's beast. Not longer in the battle, the world around them becomes a vision of Raphael's past, the graveyard of his parents, and we see how he turned his guardian angel representation into the evil and maddening Dead Scythe. In the end of the duel, Raphael is defeated, but he has a vision of him reuniting with his family and the cards that he also has a real connection with, seeing the evil vanish from his heart and breaking his Orichalcos fragment, saving Raphael's soul from being claimed, with Yami standing tall from the victory and Kaiba respecting him once more, having the desire to still beat him in a duel one day. But the day isn't saved yet. The sun starts to rise as the ground beneath them shakes.
There's more duels and more action when Yu-Gi-Oh! Returns!
And now, back to Yu-Gi-Oh!
Now the building is starting to collapse. They all get saved by one of Kaiba's helicopters, but Raphael is too weak to move on his own and Yami can't carry him. So he gives Yami a memory card before falling to his demise, with the ancient structure rising from the innards of this new age looking building, showing what was truly there all along. Yami gives Kaiba the SD card and they check what's on it, as it then points directly to where Darts' temple is, as Darts is saying a chant that brings him all of his Orichalcos soldiers. But the good news is we see Raphael surviving the fall and holding on to Mai's body as he emerges from the rubble. The way to Darts' temple is perilous, with the helicopter facing many typhoons, but Darts pulls them into the temple anyway, as he wants them to continue coming after him. Once there, the group find the main chamber and eventually find the tablets that resemble all of the souls that had been taken already. When Yami ends up seeing Yugi's tablet, he makes a dash for it as Darts yells out to him as he emerges before them all, then creating two special tablets that are waiting for both Kaiba and Yami. Darts then welcomes them both to challenge him, as he reveals that he has been around for over 10,000 years, showing all the souls that he has truly captured to bring forth his ultimate god. Kaiba sets up to duel Darts first, but Yami says he's stepping in as well, with Darts agreeing to this, with these two having to truly work together to take down Darts. Before we get into this, we see that Raphael is out collecting more bodies, continuing from there to make his way to the temple. As the duel gets going, Darts sets the seal of Orichalcos while Yami and Kaiba work together to get their Blackluster Soldier and their Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon out so they can fuse them together, getting the Dragon Master Knight to be extremely powerful with a massive amount of attack points. During the duel though, Darts takes us on his backstory journey, talking about the history of Atlantis, how it was the perfect city, and eventually Darts became the king after his father resigned, who in fact was Ironheart, and we see that he had his own family, a wife, his pet, which was the wolf dog we saw earlier with Ironheart, and his daughter, Chris, making what happened earlier that much more deep and emotional for all that has happened. One day a volcano erupted and from it a massive black dragon arose and ate the sun, with stones raining down from the skies onto the land, and thus the origins of the Orichalcos was born. Darts saw these stones as the cure for everything, as they could be used in a million ways for incredible inventions or even medicine. And through this, the advancements of Atlantis grew extremely fast, but people's hearts started to become corrupt from the desire of what it all brings, starting a festering of darkness, making a point about the corruption, greed, darkness, and everything from the 21st century, comparing it back to how it was then. Eventually, the people became monsters and chaos was consuming all there was. Darks had to then even take the life of his own wife over the corruption, but at one point, he has this connection with the fragment of the stone, seeing the bigger picture and visions of a giant beast within the earth. He claims that he is tasked now with saving paradise by eliminating humanity from the world through bringing forth the Great Leviathan. When Ironheart tried to stop him from this, Darts pushed back as he wanted to see only perfect humans left alive for the world to be the way it needs to be considered perfect. When everyone abandons him, including his father and daughter, he continues to fall deeper into the alignment of the Orichalcos. Ironheart ends up sealing a door that connects our world to the Duel Monsters world world, and Darts had to wait for over 10,000 years after the battle that ended in a draw between him and his god against Ironheart and those fighting back to see what happens with humanity from this point on. Humans only got worse in his eyes, and he must purge them from the world for good this time. As the duel goes on, he brings forth another layer of the seal of Orichalcos, but as Kaiba and Yugi take on these mirror tokens from Darts, they are revealed to be the souls of their friends and acquaintances, as they worry that their attacks and what they do may end up hurting or killing them. Kaiba won't let Yami's emotions get in the way of what's at stake with the duel, with the spirit of Yugi speaking to Yami, telling him to attack and that everything will be okay. Darts' life points only continue to rise and rise to astronomical numbers. Raphael eventually arrives at the scene as it's revealed to him that Darts was the one responsible for making his family crash and die, causing him to lose it, as this was Darts baiting him so that he can cast a seal and also take his soul. But Darts was at the center of everyone's trauma that caused them to come to him, revealing that he's been there all along. But back in the duel, he plays another level of his seals that rises the stakes and difficulty even higher. Kaiba ends up pulling his legendary dragon out to have it become Mirror Force Dragon, and takes out Darts' active monsters, but thanks to this, Darts gets to play some more trickery with his nearly invincible deck that will take Kaiba's life points down to 0, as Kaiba makes the sacrifice of using Wish of Final Effort to raise Yami's life points higher to keep him going, as his soul gets taken as well, resulting in the battle just being between Darts and Yami now. Darts and Yami get into a discussion about the Pharaoh being the reason behind his true actions for being here, and witnessing the nameless Pharaoh back in the day, being there at a point to witness all that had happened, seeing that he comes back in the modern day and views him as this repulsive king that will end humanity. This is kind of a precursor to what comes next in the next season of Yu-Gi-Oh! But as the duel comes to a close, Yugi brings together the 3 legendary knight representations of the legendary dragons and defeats Darts, opening a rift to the captured souls being fed to the Great Leviathan, as he tells Darts to release them all. But the Leviathan breaks free through a dimensional portal, taking Darts and ending this battle for now, while the rest of the souls are let free. But the story may not be over just yet, as Atlantis has arisen from the depths, as they now have to head there and finish whatever challenge lies ahead. But before they go, Yugi sees his god cards and is able to get them back, and him, Joey, and Kaiba all head over to Atlantis. When they get there, they find Darts' soul to be powerful enough to bring forth the Leviathan on its own, and they now seem to be one and the same, as they all have to face this giant beast with all that they got. The gateway to the monster world is opened as monsters come pouring out to help in the fight, but in the end, the Leviathan still wins, defeating Yugi, Joey, and Kaiba. But with the Pharaoh's soul inside, he ends up working with all the other souls in there to summon the 3 Egyptian god cards to bring himself, Joey, and Kaiba back, defeating the giant Leviathan and freeing the rest of the trapped and doomed souls. As they all try to leave Atlantis before it falls apart, Yugi is stopped by Darts and the Leviathan once more, as Yami is being absorbed into the beast, telling Yugi to stay back as this is his fight. They have an emotional moment together as Yami faces the last bit of darkness inside of him, and through the power of friendship, we are really coming back full circle here, he is able to lock the Leviathan away and stops everything from continuing forward, sealing the curse of this all inside of him, but has found the true light within him, and what it means to be a true pharaoh. Darts is set free from the long control that the Orichalcos had on him, now being able to be at peace with Ironheart and Chris. Everyone is able to get out of there, and all the souls have returned to the bodies that they once came from, waking up from what seemed to be like the end. Both Yugi and Yami are now washed up on the shore, getting visited by Dark Magician Girl and the legendary knights, as they are thankful for both worlds being saved. Once Yugi's friends find them, it's agreed that now it's time to truly uncover the secrets of the Pharaoh's past, as Yugi promises Yami that they are in this together and he will not face this alone. This is where season 4 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Comes to an end, and wow, what a pretty crazy season overall. I think this whole plot with the Orichalcos does get a little over the top, but it does make for some very entertaining moments nonetheless. From here, the series enters into its last season with this cast of characters, giving us a chance to fully deep dive the Pharaoh's past and answer some of the show's biggest questions. Along with that, there were 2 other movies that came out post the ending of Yugi's and his friend's story, so we will look into both of those as well. Make sure to tell me some of your favorite moments in season 4 in the comments below, along with how many times I said Orichalcos in this video. Have fun with that. I've been Jordan Fringe. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Later.